Dr. Luz Maria.
Hi, I'm Coach Lisa Frank, and today we're talking about financial independence for women, and we have with us
Yolanda M. Smith, the branthropist.
Amazing.
philanthropist.
Well, we're so excited. We're so excited here to have you, Yolanda. And as a financial independent woman that we know you are, why don't you just first start by sharing with the audience, what does that look like, or define it for the audience, a financial independent woman?
Well, I'm sure that term can be defined many ways, right? I guess it's to whom you ask, right? But I look at it from the standpoint of financial independence. To me, is to be able to have enough income, enough wealth that you can do what you want to do when you want to do it. So it's one thing to be able to pay your bills. It's another thing to be able to move about the cabin freely with the freedom to be able to make decisions and not have to worry about the money.
Yeah. Well, okay. Do what you want to do. Okay. So a part of doing what you want to do when you want to do it means that you have to do what you should do when you should do it, right? So how did you learn how to do all of this?
I love it. Okay, so you just walked right into that. Okay, so John Maxwell, love him, right?
Oh, yes.
He said, people always come to us, right, and say, we want to do what you do. You know?
Yes.
But, yeah, you seen that one? But you have to go and did you know what we did to get to do what we want to do? So you want to do the do, but you don't want to do what we did to get there. So if you don't do what the did, you can't do the do.
Correct.
Okay?
Totally. Yes.
Right. Yeah. So you just walked into that one.
Did.
I love it. But I think the reality is it's different for different people. I think for me personally, I was one of those curious learners very young.
Okay.
And so I wanted to be grown. I'm just being full transparency here. I was probably one of those girls, they said she's a little fast. But I wasn't fast necessarily chasing boys. I do a little bit of that too now.
Let's be truthful.
But I was fast in my thinking. So I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I wanted to do things grown people did. So what I thought grown people did was like get insurance policies. So at 17, 18 years old, I'm buying insurance policies, right? Not realizing what I was really doing at that time, right? But so I did things like that early on and maintained them throughout my life, and then there was at a certain
Did you invest in whole life? I'm sorry.
Yes, it was whole life and universal policy, so they did build cash value.
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing.
Yes.
Now, how did you even, as a young girl, come to that? And I heard you that you're fast. Like, but how does an 18-year-old, 19-year-old think of even that? Like, what got you to think that?
I don't really know at this point, because I have to be honest. My parents weren't very financially, knowledgeable, weren't fiscal. I'm looking at it now back, and I just was very impressionable by things I would see on TV, by other things. Yeah. That's how I really got out and was able to venture into the world too. I wasn't afraid.
Yeah, but when you talk about insurance policies, well, I'm going to date myself. I don't know about you, but I think about, I know in our culture, I'm not sure about yours, but if they didn't pay nothing else, that insurance guy was coming every month for their insurance.
He came and knocked on the door to pick up the policy, right? And things so I got exposed to it, and I felt like I should do it. I don't, and so I bought a couple policies, but then I started investing money too. As soon as I was able, I did my 401k things, and so I spent a great deal of my career, all of my career pretty much, in the pharmaceutical industry. I took a stint out for a couple years and did some managed healthcare things, but I jumped right back in. I was like, oh, no, this is not it. But taking every advantage I could of the 401ks, and I would watch people and I would pay attention, because I do believe success leaves clues, right?
Yes, it does.
Clues. And so I would just pay attention. I remember somebody saying one time, he doesn't turn down anything but his collar. He said if it's a penny on the ground, he picks it up. It all adds up. So we don't become snobs to what we will take and not take, and things of that nature. but so I started doing some of that early on, right? And I got into the pharmaceutical industry. I got exposed, so I was able to do savings that way. But what I realized as I kind of matriculated through my career, and honestly, I was mid-career, and when I realized this is not going to cut it, right?
Yes.
Saving is not going to cut it, and that's when I got exposed to the fact that wealthy people don't save money, they invest money. And I really started investing then, and I started scarfing up Lilly stock at $30 a share. So I don't need to tell you what that looks like because it's at about 900 now, right? Somewhere 900. I started scarfing it up though, and that was just like 15 years ago. But prior to that, I would put investment again, trying to just dibble and dabble. I dibbled in some crypto, did good, jumped out, went back in, lost. I mean, so I'm not averse to risk either.
Yes.
Yeah,
okay.
but
yes, it is. Yes,
which is
truly.
very unique though, because statistically, women don't take those kind of risks. So really? I'm sitting here like, what?
Well, I think I probably subscribe a little bit to think like a man. I don't know. I mean, because
I do have some questions regarding that.
But, you know what I mean?
Because a man in a female body.
Yeah.
Like more masculine traits.
Kind of controlling, kind of this. The driver, admittedly.
Okay. Yeah. So tell me, so I'm really excited because now that there's this young girl that is just somewhere in the process, your mind said, okay, I'm curious, I want to invest, you figure it out, you start doing all of this. What has it allowed you to do differently than you see other women? Like, I got this money and I've done X, Y, and Z as a motivator. Like, I've invested, I've done trips, I've done, what is it out there that you've been in?
So I think it's allowed me a lifestyle that I want to live. I have a home in Florida, a home here in Indiana. I can do what I want to do. I think at the point where I might not have been retirement age when I left the pharmaceutical industry, but I got fed up and I realized that I had done some things right and I didn't have to put up with it anymore. And I no longer became afraid of the golden handcuffs and these, because at that point I'm vested anyway, right?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And so wherever I went, and I was somewhat strategic too about where I would go. Did they have a pension? If I was going to work there, I needed to maximize. So I got pensions and 401ks.
Wow.
So that was the beauty there.
That's unheard of these days.
Most companies
is.
don't offer a pension, but back then they were still offered them. So I had one coming from Merck, one coming from so it's a culmination of, it's like if you look at any one thing in and of itself, it's not that big of a deal. But you start putting it together,
that penny, that dime, that nickel you find on the street.
So you put all these together, and then all of a sudden you do have a few assets that you could lean on. We've got a little bit of rental property, I mean, so one of the things that I teach even today is the fact that at a minimum you have to have 3 streams of income, because I learned that the same hand that feeds you is the same hand that can starve you. And when I had a little dip in my career, it opened my eyes greatly. I was like, one person can really destroy you if you're not careful. It's not the company necessarily, but an individual within that organization. If they don't like you, they can make your life miserable and destroy you, right?
Yes.
So I said, no. And even though I had done some of these things right, that's when I started my business. And when I started branding for success, that would have been back in 2018.
Right.
I started branding for success. I said, I'm never going to be in a position where I feel like if something was to happen, I'm not going to be able to eat, Right. Now, granted, at that point, I wasn't ready to take the retirement, You get penalized for things like that. So it was a matter of where's your disposable income. You didn't want to sell stock. I still had accounts like that. So I just had to think smart. I said, you have to create more of it.
So that income that comes out of real estate is helpful too.
It's help. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, totally.
I mean, because
that's considered kind of disposable if you're renting to someone.
I mean, it's disposable. Or what we would call maybe from a renter standpoint, that would be more like residual income. You just get residual income. I believe in having passive income. Yeah. Passive income is where I have my digital products, my book. I'm a 2-time best-selling author. Actually, my brand new book is going to release next week.
Share with us the title of it.
Yeah, so it's called Brandfluence. So I'm having a live Brandfluence event next week here in Indianapolis, where it's going to be a premier personal branding event where we teach advanced branding strategies. We're going to talk about the power of PR, right, and media, and how you can leverage that to get known.
Is there a way to get in on that virtually?
Not virtually.
Okay.
Not virtually. Not so this is my first live event. So there may be a recording afterwards.
Okay. Keep it to be able to put it out there. I think it's a value. I'm just mesmerized, especially that young little girl that has got this courage and things like that.
Right?
And the thing about it, it's not at all in our culture either.
No.
At all. It's just not something that girls do not. Yeah.
You know what? I was just one of those. I'm not going to say
Are you an only child?
Kid. No, I'm not an only child. I have brothers and sisters. Here's the thing. I think there was that level of curiosity and something in me. I can even remember. Listen, I lied. Yes, I lied. I went and got a job at 14 years old.
I did that with Candy Stripes.
I did too at 15. I
said I was 16, and I went to work at a men's clothing store, and I became a seamstress. I didn't know diddly squat, but that woman, God bless her, I don't even remember her name. She was a nice Korean seamstress, and she taught me everything, and I've got good at it. Now, that's not so. She told me, listen, she said, this is not what you want to do. Your back will be bent over, your hand. You have arthritis. You don't want to do this. I said, yes, ma'am. I'm going to go to school. I promise I'm going to go to school. and so, but even I had the bug back then. And literally before I took the pharmaceutical job, I had my own company called Yotra Designs. I did imprinted sportswear. And we would just bedazzle and bejewel things before they ever became popular. Me and my girlfriend would scrape our money. We'd go to Dallas to the show and get ideas and come back and just I was an action taker.
I was going to say that's pretty
I would
much
implement. Yeah.
So there's this curiosity, kind of an idea that shows up in your mind, and then you just go for it.
I do it. My mother did one thing. God bless her soul. She wasn't an educated woman. She was a hardworking woman. I loved her. I mean, we probably grew up fairly about this close to poor. You know what I mean? But we didn't feel it, necessarily. But when you look back, you were like, oh, man, she was really trying to make ends meet and struggling. Yeah. But it was one of those things she did is she instilled a sense of confidence. She said, you can be anything you want to be. You can do whatever you want to do. I believe that. And that was a driving force that said, you can do whatever you want to do. And nobody can tell you any different because my mama said. Mama said, she did, and I believed her. I believed her.
And that was my next question, where you just answered, is what are the thoughts? Because that we have these competitive thoughts, those that encourage us and those that stopped us. Mm-hmm. So the thought that kept you going is a belief of what your mother said.
Yeah. And the mindset is powerful. It is. It has the ability to create or destroy, right? Mm-hmm. And I tell people all the time that we have to be careful because the way our thoughts become our beliefs drive our actions become habits, right?
That's right.
Totally.
And so when you think about it from that perspective, what are you thinking? What do you think about yourself? Because so many people may be told things along the way, and we've created these limiting beliefs. So I tell people all the time, I laugh about the one, money doesn't grow on trees, right? A penny saved is a penny earned. Save it for a rainy day. All I want on a rainy day is an umbrella and to look at my account, okay, and make sure that money is still there. I'm not saving it for a rainy day.
Right. I'm just saving it.
But that's what we've been told. So instead, we'll save it, not invest it. We'll be afraid, and then the way we define success today is very different. So people squander money that they shouldn't spend, because I think that one of the other things is I'm a big believer of not being in the wrong debt. Business debt is good debt, but beyond that, if you're buying handbags and shoes and clothes and you're in debt from buying them, that's not good.
That's right.
Because you can't. I don't care if
that
you go
louder.
Because
we are consumers.
We are consumers, but if you go back and you try to sell it, you never get the value for it. Very few things will maintain their value like that. So that's just wasted.
I gotta ask another question. So we're talking about money in properties and insurances. What about money investing in you?
Oh, totally.
Tell us what you've invested in you to make you who you are now.
Well, one of the things, I was mid-career before I ever had a mentor, coach, or a sponsor. Nobody ever told me I needed one. Isn't that awful? And I worked in a corporation, and nobody ever told me I needed one. Yeah. And so I actually went to a conference one time, and they were talking about it, and I just sat there. I sat there very quiet, which is unusual, and I was taking it in because I was like, what the heck? Yeah. So I was pretending like I knew what they were talking about, but I was learning. Right. And I was so angry by the time I left that conference. And I remember marching my hips into that office to the VP, and I go, where's my mentor? What, Yolanda? I said, where is my mentor? You know, and he was like, what do you mean? I thought you already had one. Because they just assumed because I was having a level of success.
Yes.
Because why? Because I take action, I make things happen, that I had it.
Right.
And I never had that. So I can only imagine if I had guidance, how much further, faster I would have went.
Yep.
I probably would have saved myself a whole lot of things because I was pretty firecrackery, sassy. So if I thought it, I said it. And there were sometimes you probably shouldn't have did it.
But you learned from experience.
Nobody. Yes, I did, but nobody taught that kind of stuff.
And mentors and coaches have only become popular.
Huge.
I would say maybe in the last 15, 20 years, they didn't talk about that a lot before.
Certain people got them. Yes,
okay.
They've been around for a long time.
Yes, only the CEOs, only the top people.
Yeah.
Certain people got them.
What else? How else did you invest in yourself? So you knew about mentors, the impact that would do.
Well, I started to really understand the impact that they can have. But then I realized that if you wanted certain things, you had to make it happen. So when I went back, I went through a period of time where I had a break in my career where one job actually did a reallocation. And so I was competing at that point with much younger people. But I was probably approaching 50. I was competing with much younger people. And I realized that the world had changed because it became very digital.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Very digital. And I was like, Lord Jesus, I hadn't filled out a resume, application, or, this is a whole new world for me. But one of the things I did is I invested in myself. I paid for myself to get a master's degree. That was one thing.
All right, there it is.
Now, because the company that picked me up, which was Eli Lilly at the time, when they first picked me up, they picked me up as what they called a FDE, a fixed duration employee. So you're more than a contractor, because you did get to some benefits and contribute. You didn't get the bonus, but you got some benefits, but you didn't get the full benefits.
Okay.
And so I knew that I had 2, maybe 3 years max to be able to capitalize on this. And if they didn't take me over full time, I was going to be back out on the job market.
Yes,
so I wanted to make sure I was competitive. Because if everything said master's degree preferred, what they really meant is we want a master's degree.
Yes.
Right.
That's right. That's what that really means.
That's what it really
But so
means.
there's always kind of like this vision ahead of you, and there's this action that follows. So investing in you is because you knew where to invest in yourself.
Right. That paid off big time.
Yes,
I totally agree with that when they make that a criteria. But I do like to encourage people to still try and apply anyway, because sometimes your experience overrides the education.
Let me tell you what it is. This is really what it is. It's about connection.
Right.
It's not about what you know. It's not about who you know. It's about who knows you.
That's
you
right.
You have to be in the connection building business right now, because when jobs become available, they already have in their mind someone.
Who it
if
is.
you haven't built a relationship, if you haven't expressed your interest, now I'm getting into branding, but if you haven't expressed your interest in things like that, then the likelihood is that you're not the top candidate. Doesn't mean you can't come in there and wow somebody and make it happen, but the likelihood is that you're not that top candidate.
And they're posting it a lot of times because they have to post it.
Oh, absolutely.
And not because, and a lot of times they already have you in mind.
And this is,
I got so many more questions.
Okay,
but go ahead, finish your thought. Go ahead.
And the other thing is that they will say they can't post with the leading candidate. So you're telling them they can't. That doesn't mean they don't have it in their mind. They just can't. Well, we've got to be open because now you've got diversity. You've got all these things that come into play so that you can have a diverse candidate pool. You can
Right. Playing the game. Know how to play the game.
Yes.
Totally.
Okay. Yes.
It's the game.
Play the game.
Yeah.
All right.
So that was one way.
So we're talking about this amazing financial independence in terms of work, who you are. That's amazing. There's always another side to it. How does that affect relationship? Because a lot of financial independent women, either from other women or mates or men, that's where some conflict. So tell me a little bit about that. Because we have listeners that are going to take on what you're going to do. Tell them the other side.
Well, every upside has a downside, right? I think it is tough. Sometimes men struggle with powerful women, and and depending on where they are and how secure they are in themselves, they say it's not a problem, but oftentimes it is a problem. I mean, I think a man innately is made to be the provider, right? And they don't require much, but they want that level of respect. They want to be the head of the household and those things. And I think sometimes, even just from a financial standpoint, it can be tough.
Yes,
I've experienced it. I know what that feels like. And but what do you do? Because do you dummy yourself down? Do you dim your light down to, after you've worked so hard to be at a level to then make the relationship work? So I think there's a little bit of a give and take that has to happen there. So we've got to know when to turn it off.
That's right.
Right. And that sometimes is hard. Yeah.
When to switch hats.
Because you can't walk in the house like you're in the boardroom.
That's right.
Running stuff.
Absolutely.
And I've been guilty of that as well. So but sometimes when you know better, you do better.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
When you know better. So
it's a learning
that's
process.
That's one of the downsides. I think the other downside to it is women can be mean. Women can be very catty, and that's primarily why I left the industry. It wasn't because I didn't love my job and what I did. I absolutely did. But I'm not going to sit here and be, fueled with microaggressions and made to feel like all of a sudden now I've been doing everything in my life. I've mentored hundreds of people.
Right.
Been what I consider a decent person,
right?
And yet now all of a sudden I'm intimidating. You're this, you're that. You get called names and this sort of thing. And so I think what happens is oftentimes we want you to be successful enough to make us shine, but we don't want you to be more successful than us. And so I think the tension for me was I had started my business and I became a parallelpreneur. And that is absolutely meaning that I am going to work my business as hard as I work your business.
That's
and so I had to make a decision, and for a couple years I was churning it. I was up till 1, 2 in the morning and back up again at 7, 8. You know what I mean? Making it do what it do. But the reality is that then I started getting all this external attention, and then it became visible to some people in the organization, and it became a struggle. And I think it was more of a struggle. I don't think anybody just disliked me. I think it was a failure to understand how to manage me.
Right. Yes.
And instead, you didn't need to manage me. Just lead me. Let me know what you need, and I can make you shine. But
I think that when people are around you, because I've had some challenges. And unfortunately, it's usually been with women supervisors who were the same hue as me. And it was surprising because I wanted to work on whatever I was working on, whether it be my degree. And I was okay with coming in, have you supervising me and give me my paycheck. That's what I'm there for, right? But then yet you're dealing with these attitudes and, like you said, microaggression and things like that.
It's just insecurities.
Yeah.
It's insecurities.
Yeah, and I believe that sometimes people can see greatness in you, and then they start to compete against that. They start to try to sabotage. It really is
intimidating, right?
It is
But it's intimidating from the fact that you feel like somebody's going to outshine you, or you'll no longer be relevant, or they'll take your position. It's those sort of intimidating things, when really we can figure out how to work together, and that's one of the things that I promote greatly, which is why I do what I do now today.
So you work with that. That's a part of the work that you do with the branding, teaching people how to work together and not try to compete with each other. Because competition, first of all, is a trap. We know that because I can compare myself to you and feel less than, and then the next person and feel greater than. So your emotions are going to be back and forth, and your confidence is going to be back and forth, rather than just being in a space of I am who I am.
Yes.
This is what I'm great at.
Yes.
Stay
in your lane.
Yeah. And a part of being secure is not having to push that on people. Who I am. Yeah. Right.
Well, and the other piece is you just, people do need to understand there's no reason to compare. Comparison is the thief of joy.
That's
Don't
right.
compare yourself to anybody. What you see on social media, maybe half of it's real.
Right.
Maybe it's
Really,
a lot of
very
people
true.
are
I took
there
50 pictures
posturing.
before I got.
You know, a lot of people
Yeah.
are posturing,
Yeah.
and they're trying to put their best foot forward, and you don't know what's going on behind the scenes. But I think if we could, I believe that in the sisterhood, I believe that there's enough for all of us.
Yes.
That's the
That's the
mentality.
whole key.
That's
There's
the key
enough for
there,
all
right?
of us.
There it is.
I want to uplift. So my job
Yeah.
is to uplift. I empower women, right? My
Yeah.
vision is to literally empower 100,000 women to be able to unlock their brand potential so that they can have joy and success in this
Success,
lifetime.
yes.
What does that look like
I
for
know.
them, you
That's
know?
an amazing purpose. And I know we got
Yeah.
about
Confident
5
in
minutes
your
or
spot,
so.
yeah.
So one of the things I would like is for you just to sum up some of the points for our listeners about like what is the downfalls that you experience so that they make sure not go through them.
Yeah.
Well, you know, it's one of those things. It depends on whether you take the victim mentality or not. I mean, I've had lots of challenges through my life. I think the key is just keep rising.
Getting back
I
up.
can't tell you will be able to avoid the landmines. What I can tell you though is if you fall down 7 times, get up 8.
There we
You
go.
know what I mean? And just keep it moving, knowing that once you
Keep
know
it
who you
moving.
are, and if you believe in you.
Right.
That
That's
goes
the key.
back. If
That's
you believe
it.
in you and you know who you are, somebody may hurt your feelings. They may knock you down, but you're not going to stay down.
That's
So it's a win
yeah.
or learn.
You know,
Yeah.
you just have to do it. And as far as creating that financial independence, that starts with the mindset too. Your relationship with money, and what does that look like? And understanding that generational wealth, if you're interested in creating that, is more than money. It's about the knowledge, the tools that you can pass down generation to generation, so that people
The
can
legacy
Yes.
you're
what does that
leaving.
look like,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Right. But be smart and start doing some things early on so that you can invest, you can make good decisions, you can create multiple streams of income, so that as we worry about the world today, because it's very different.
Yes.
Maybe money doesn't have to be one of the things we worry
Right.
about, right?
Right.
Wouldn't that be nice? And just
Yes.
that's just not
Yes.
one of them. Instead, we're trying to bring peace and humanity together.
Yes.
Yeah. And sorry.
That's
Well,
what
I
the-
just
do
wanted,
we need to
I just
extend
wanted,
this?
I just
I know
wanted
we
to,
do.
This has been burning for a little while.
Go ahead.
Because you mentioned John Maxwell and people wanting to know, well, how do I get to do what you're doing? And one of the things I remember him saying is that, let me go spend a day with you. So if people were to spend a day with you, what are the 3 things that they would learn that you would want them to learn that is key to getting to what disciplines?
Yes, so I
Yeah.
adopt very much millionaire habits. You know, I get up early.
Okay.
I do my savers. So what does that mean? There's silence there, meditation, so I can set my intention for the day. I
Yes.
do my
Right.
affirmations. I visualize.
Okay.
Visualization is huge. I exercise. I read, because I believe you have to
Right.
get so much
Yes.
professional development every day into your mind. And then I scribe. So scribing, you can journal, or then I start creating my goals for the day and setting my intentions. So I'm very intentional. I audit my calendar. Why? Because if you have space in your calendar, you will not do things. You need to be able to account for your activities
Activities.
throughout the day, whether you're going to spend time with family, whether you're going to go and exercise, whether you're going to have lunch, whether you're going to do whatever it is. That
It's
way
not on
you
paper.
have
It's
no
not happening,
excuse
right.
for not being productive and getting the things you want to get done, because everybody gets the same 24 hours a day.
That's
right?
so true.
And-
Action, action, action.
Yes, and then
Yeah.
at the end of the day, I celebrate 3 things that I was successful at for the day. So while most people will spend time ragging on themselves about what they didn't do, I actually celebrate what I did do.
Right.
And if I didn't get something done, then that becomes that morning thing. I'll think about it in the morning, because I want to go to bed
Yes.
with good intentions and good
Yes.
thoughts in my head. If you go to bed angry, you wake up the same way you go to
Yep.
bed.
Yes.
So think about putting some positivity into you, and then being able to have that marinate within your spirit all night, and you wake up and you're refreshed and you're ready to go.
So generally, what time do you start? I'm sorry, Lucy.
Go ahead.
What time do you start your day and end your day?
So it depends. I do a lot of West Coast things, so I may not end a day till midnight, 1 o'clock. If I
Okay.
don't do that, I'm going to get my sleep.
Okay.
Let's be clear.
Okay,
Rest is
okay.
important.
Yes,
Rest
it
important.
is.
Now, a lot of times I won't get a full 7-8 hours, but if I can, I'll get 7-8 hours.
Right.
But if I can, I would rather be in bed by 11, and then that way I'm up by 6.
Okay.
Right? You know, if I can get in 11, I'm up by. But if not, then it may be more like 7 o'clock because I'm gonna get my rest because I'm at that age.
Yeah.
I'm a seasoned woman.
Yeah.
I need my sleep.
You do need your sleep.
Being
And you know, I love your morning routine because that's my morning routine.
Yes.
I do. I get up every morning and I meditate. That's just it just starts your day and just kind of allows you what it's going to look like. And also at the end, I do the same thing is what is it that I can learn from this particular day? I love that.
And then I try to live in gratitude.
Yes, living in.
Because it's so easy to talk about what we don't have, but I don't want a lack mindset. I don't want a scarcity mindset.
Right.
Because I don't have it all.
Right.
I mean, I did some things right, but I didn't tell you that some of that stuff got spent along the way too,
Yeah.
right? I mean,
Yes.
it's not like I'm sitting here, you know,
Right.
some of it got spent along the way,
Yeah.
but thank God I had it when I needed it.
But
Yes.
were they really losses or lessons?
I don't think I lost it necessarily.
Okay.
Well, I did lose some
Some,
when the
but-
stock market crashed. I mean, come on now. You know, but those are external factors beyond your
Yes.
control.
Right.
Yeah, I didn't lose a whole bunch of it due to stupidity. The last probably financial mistake I made is I took a lot of money out of my 401k, but I put it into a brand new custom house I wanted to build, right?
Oh,
And
okay.
I thought, okay, talk to my financial advisor. He said, that's a good idea. You're not losing anything. It'll grow. But what he forgot to tell me is that I won't be able to go to the mailbox, swipe a card, and some money fly out, okay? He didn't tell that part. You know, where you can then hit the 401k and say withdraw, right?
Yes.
You can't go do that necessarily at the house. You know, the mailbox is not terminated. So it's not as disposable. Right?
Yes, that's
but
very
it's still
true.
there, the investments there. It's just not as
We've
disposable.
got 3 more minutes. So,
Yeah.
you know, I'm sure there's some listeners out there that are wondering, okay, I have some money in my pocket. You know, I want to invest it, and they would want to ask you that. What would you suggest to them?
First, invest in yourself.
Yes.
First, invest in yourself. I mean, I truly believe everyone needs a coach. And here's the thing. With a coach, you look at the greatest that ever done it. The Olympics is going on right now, right? You look at them. What do they all have in common? They all have a coach.
Yes.
They all have a coach because a coach is going to help us see things that we don't see.
Right.
And so I'm heavily invested in coaches, and I spend
Yes.
a lot of money. I'm not $2-3. I spend
Yes.
thousands of dollars to have great coaches around me. But what I found is that, and I'll just give an example for anybody that's scared to do that, you got to be thinking about the return on the investment. Instead of focusing on what can go wrong, focus on what can go right.
Yeah.
And so I invested last year probably around $45,000 in a guy, but it returned me $400,000. Was that a good investment?
Yes.
Yes,
That's
it was.
a good
Yes.
investment,
Yes.
right?
Yes,
Yeah,
it
that's
is.
a good investment.
Yes.
So we can't be afraid to invest and take a risk on ourselves.
Yes.
We'll give our money away to everybody else. Oh, I need $500. Help me pay the house over here. Do that. You give your money away, but then you won't invest it in yourself.
And I think that people are so focused on the traditional way of investing, which is college degree. And yes, we know that's beneficial, but coaching is key.
Yes.
Because, you know, if you're telling that coach, I want to flip across the room, and the coach sees that you tend to push your leg to the left, and that's going to put you to the right, then they can see that, and you can't see it,
that's
right?
very true.
They can identify. They're going to identify your strengths, and they're going to identify the areas that you need strengthening
that you
in.
don't see. Yeah.
Right.
Right.
As these last 2 minutes that we still have left over, Yolanda, tell us where people can find you. Tell us information about your business that you have. I'm sure there's a lot of people, listeners, are curious. It's like they would want to know information about you. Please share.
Yes, so you can reach me. My website is yolandamsmith.com or branding4success.com. That goes to the same place, but because I'm a speaker, you know, I have to use my name as well. I am a brand, right?
Yes.
Right? Or you can catch me on social media at branding4success, and that's on all social media outlets. Branding for Success. And so my new book, Brandfluence, is going to launch on the 17th of August. I'm so excited.
It is exciting.
Yes.
How exciting.
So really, it's about how do we take that social media and ignite your brand power on social media.
Amazing.
Results
Amazing.
in revenue, because I know it was hard for me, and that's the thing. If things are hard for me and I learn it, then I want to give it back.
Yes,
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because there's so much out here about social media platforms.
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
Yes, and I still don't. I'm not the expert. I'm
Yeah.
just the expert. I'm just going to tell you what I learned, you know, what I know.
Well, Yolanda, I've got more questions. As you can see, I have them here. We don't have the time. We're definitely going to have you come back in and talk about your expertise. It is just such a needed topic for women out there to learn to invest in themselves, to become more financial independent, because doing that, it just opens, you know, doors for oneself. So, Lisa, do you want to close this amazing episode with Yolanda here?
Well, I'm just happy that you came and you know, all the information that you've given us and our audience is wow, it's valuable. And how much do we owe you?
Well, you know, I'll just tell you, go buy a book, right?
Okay,
there we go. And then get the book and I'll autograph it. There we go.
Thank you so much.
This has just been amazing, Yolanda. The interview, who you are, what you represent, you know, being a woman of minority, being a woman also myself of a minority, and seeing a woman that's investing so young, like, more power to you.
Yes.
Ready? Well, this has been just an amazing show. Episode. I'm just so excited. My words are getting tongue twisted here. I am Dr. Luz Maria.
I'm Coach Lisa Frank, and this is Yolanda M. Smith.
This has been a great episode on Different Voices. Yeah.